of me a great question that we can start off with today. I know last week we also wanted to look at a budget, so I pulled up my Catching Faith 2 budget. We kind of did this a few weeks ago, but taking steps of like going through the timeline of step-by-step process for making the movies, from you had an idea, my sister and I wrote it, and then do you attach a director, or did you raise financing next? Did you hire a casting director? So I'll go through, I think the best one to go through would be identity crisis, because it's the first time that my sister and I actually ventured from our tribe, and we joint ventured with Ben and Aaron. We're like all of our other films, we would write the script. We knew who the director was. We even knew who the cinematographer was. We knew who the editor was. We had a whole team ready to go. So when we would write the script, all we needed was the money. And then once the money was in the bank, we were off to the races. We had the team in place. We would go and find the locations, and we just make it happen. So then with Identity Crisis, which was our first time where we wrote a script, pitched it out to other studios. They liked the script. They actually didn't even have a lot of script notes, which was awesome. They liked it. So when we did the joint venture, our director, John, had decided to go off and do horrors and thrillers. So we didn't have a director attached. Andrea and I brought everyone that we could from our team onto the movie. Like we knew our casting directors, Lisa Lynn and Catherine Stroud, we already knew they would do the movie. Our editor, she was on board. So we had a lot of our team members, but we had to find a director. And we were raising money. So I would say once we signed the joint venture, we were off to raising money. We had the script and it was pretty much ready to go. And the big thing, yep.
Sorry. So can you share a little bit more about how that joint venture happened? So because you had the script.
Yeah.
Then did you get it? Then you said you went it to a studio, or you formed the joint venture, or how did you?
Oh, okay. So once the script was ready and we felt good about it, I went out to all my connections to take meetings on it. And you can pitch your script to as many people as you want. People can be mad, but if they lost, that's their fault. We had some people who said, I wanted in on that movie. And I was like, snooze, you lose. The first person that you want to work with that comes in gets it. And I've been mentored by Karen Covell for years. So I'm always calling Karen, like, having a mentor in your life that she's like, nope, you can pitch to anybody you want. So I pitched it out to Provident Films, Pure Flicks, Third Coast Content, Chuck and Carrie from Believe. They were interested in it. We pitched out to everybody, and Erin Miller got back to me and she said, I really love this script. I'm going to present it to my team. So, and then we did have a couple other conversations with other people, but once we met with Ben and Erin, we really liked them. They got our vision. Ben was like, I love what you guys are doing. Switched is amazing. Because of Switched, we had a proven model. He was also Ben also really loved that we had recouped money for our movies. So he was like, that's impressive. So, so at that point, we had made 6 features, so he felt confident to joint venture with us on this. So joint venture means you're literally 50-50. So Boylan Sisters and Third Coast Content signed a contract that we are 50-50. On the movie. We don't go, there's nobody ahead of somebody else. So we might have to vote sometimes because that's 4 people. And then when you bring in the director, when come to casting, sometimes we'd be like, well, let's put it to a vote because no one's really the head of it. We all get to make the decisions. So Andrea and I found some financing. Third Coast Content found some financing. And then we all kind of took the role we knew best. For us, Third Coast was the financier people. They could handle the investment. We've talked about this before, taking the money in. That was something that I was like, I don't want to mess with that. I'll just be creative. So, Andrea and I really handled the creatives while Ben and Aaron really handled the finances and then like securing the LLC. And all that stuff that while Andrea and I went off and met GCU, we went and traveled and looked at colleges. We were seeing which was the best college to shoot the movie in. And we did a lot of this stuff before we had all the money in the bank, but we knew it was going to happen. Ben was like, I feel confident we'll raise this money. So we went and toured colleges, and then we figured out we really wanted to shoot at GCU. And you asked about the date, dates. if you don't have the money, you can't put a date down. We did push the date of this movie. We were supposed to shoot in the fall in October time. And due to just finances and bringing everything together, we ended up pushing to January, which was really hard because January of 2022 was the worst COVID time ever. And we pretty much everyone on our crew got COVID and got knocked out for 5 days. But anyway, so GCU was our location. The whole movie took place on GCU. And then, and then we all talked about our director and who do we want to direct? And Andrea and I really wanted a woman. And Sherry Rigby is a really good friend of mine, and she's been wanting to direct for a long time. So we brought Sherry into the conversation. She loved the script. And we all decided to hire Sherry as the director. And that was great because Sherry came with a lot of connections and people who really wanted to work with her. So like Bob Scott, the cinematographer, he does War Room and Overcomer. He joined on to the film because of the director. So once we got the director in, she actually brought in crew. And then we kind of all collaborated on the crew. And even in the casting process, so Lisa London did a nationwide search for twins, which took a little bit of time. That's why she kept being like, sign the contract, get me my money down, because she's not going to work for free. But she's like, this is going to take me a lot of time to find the twins. So once we could that was what was great about working with Third Coast Content. When Andrea and I made movies in the past, Andrea and I don't have a huge bank account where we can just give a casting director $12,000 to start working. But because we were with a studio, they could front some money to get us up and running while we were waiting for the funding to come in. Where normally our past films, I cannot hire Lisa until I literally have the money in the bank because I don't have $12,000 in my bank account. So that was what was great about Third Coast Content. And so we were able, and then we did the casting process. We all sat in on the casting. Of course, the director is going to cast, but we also all discussed it. And it was a very collaboration of like, Andrea and I wrote it, Sherry's directing it. How do we collaborate on? Because I mean, when I saw Scout in the audition, I was like, that's like Madison coming to life in my imagination. I'm like, I really hope everyone loves her because she's who, as a writer, you're like, that's her. So, so we casted it. And then once we finally solidified a date, it was also working with GCU. I think October was not good for them because all the kids were coming to campus. And then we found a window that worked for them. And then we started crewing up. Like I talked about before, I went on Facebook to find local crew members in Arizona. I'd never shot in Arizona. So I was calling every connection I had, who shot from New Mexico to LA, being like, who's been in Arizona? Who are the good crew out there? We did bring in a lot of people because it's not a big film hub, because it didn't have a tax incentive. So we did bring in like Bob Scott. We brought in Dave Spenson, the camera operator. We brought in a lot of the camera team, but we did find our line producer local. We found our first AD local, and then we brought in Sally Cruz. We brought in a lot of heads of departments, which we do on a lot of our movies. As long as you got a head of department that knows what they're doing and can work well with a team, you can bring in people. Even Sally found some local people for costumes. And we were just talking the other day, and she's like, they're some of the best I've ever found. So you never know. You could find incredible people who don't have a huge resume, but they're outstanding. But we always like to have a seasoned head of department because then we know that they can deal with their team. And then, we all, GCU provided us with some production offices. So a couple of us went out there early the month before Christmas, and we were just out in the production offices. The director and the cinematographer came out so they could scout locations. It was really amazing that it was all one location. So once we could set up everything, we didn't have to move, and we didn't have to do that with hair and makeup. Yep. Jenna?
Sorry, I was on mute. I'm looking at this film and I'm realizing that you actually cast twins.
Yes.
I thought it was just the one actor that played both. Was that to save money? Was it cheaper to hire two actors than to do special effects?
Oh yeah, because I mean, doing a split screen, and this movie has a lot of touching. The girls are always like, there's a fight scene where they roll around, and they're always kind of like hugging. And I mean, it's a teen girl movie, so we just didn't want to deal with how on earth we would do a split screen and then have like a stand-in. And I will tell you, the twins had such a dynamic together that was outstanding. And because it's a cloning movie, the clone could come out a little different. So, but they were identical twins. We've had people watch the movie and go, that's an amazing split screen. We're like twins. So we went with the twins and identical. I mean, when Lisa put out the casting, she was like, you must be, and hair has to be the same length. That was a big thing, that we had some girls come in that had very different hair. And we were like, we don't have enough time for you guys to get your hair to be the same. And so it's good that Scout and Sophia came in and looked at the same hair length and everything. And they did a huge nationwide search on Instagram. And I think that's the other thing, you know, like Lisa London went above and beyond for this movie because she loves what we do. And then Lex ended up being our post-production supervisor, which was awesome. So we hired our editor to be our post-production supervisor. She already kind of had a shorthand with a lot of our post people, so it kind of made sense. Woody Woodhull was our sound designer. I know how much he costs. I always put it in the budget because I want him forever. And we actually found a color corrector who did Star Wars, who watched the movie, and we were way below his price tag, but he was like, this reminds me of movies when I was a kid, and I'm just going to do it. And he took on the project. And then we had a composer. We had Jeremy Redmond that came from Sherry, who was from Big Daddy Weave, which was amazing. And then we went through post, and we had our deadlines in post, and then we, you know, did the whole like creating a poster, although then we got a new sales agent and they changed the poster. Yes.
So did you hire your all your post-production? Because you just said that I believe the color corrector watched the movie.
Yeah.
So do you wait and hire those until they can see it? Or...
If I don't know the person, yes.
Okay.
So we had our cinematographer, who was not Rick Alley, who did all of our movies. He was on another show. He was on a TV show for 6 months. He couldn't do the movie, and he color corrected for us. So when we didn't have him, we had to go find a color corrector. So we needed, so once Lex is pretty fast, and I think she had a pretty rough cut to show him. So, because they're not going to start working until you lock the edit anyway.
Right.
So you can show them. And then Woody was already signed on from, I hired Woody and pre-production. Like if you know good post people and you can get them in, because they're also get booked up. Like I go to Woody immediately and be like, Woody, these are my dates for post-production. Can I book you now in a year from now or whatever it is?
2 questions. Is he sound? And how long do you book for post-production typically on your films?
How long is the timeline?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we did have a timeline. I don't know it offhand, but Lex put together the post-production timeline because she was the post-production supervisor. So she put the timeline, she did a beautiful schedule, and she was like, and then she handles all the post people as they work together to make this come to life. Yeah, so she had a schedule, and she built that schedule in pre-production because we knew the dates we were shooting the movie. And the second you're done, you got your hand in, and we were sending her hard drives. If she wasn't there, I was mailing her hard drives so she could get editing before. So she was editing the movie while we were making the movie. Yeah. So she had the timeline, that's a really good question. I think I probably guessed time for Woody because I knew we were shooting. I knew we'd be in post. And then I said, Woody, I have a new movie. And he's like, I'm in,
Is he sound?
He's a sound designer, and he's outstanding. And he's been with me since Wish for Christmas. And I did one movie without him, and I'm never doing it again because sound, we have a lot of issues with our movies on Netflix and other things that, like Catching Faith 1, the sound is not great and people are always complaining. I'm like, dude, that movie was $75,000 It's good enough for what we had, but it's a problem. Sound design and being able to level the music and the everything, he's outstanding. And he's a joy to work with, and then now we're with Brad Cravoy, and Brad Cravoy has, last week, the movie officially went out to Netflix, HBO, Hulu, and he is repping it. And you guys can pray for us because we want a Netflix Disney deal.
In my experience, Netflix wouldn't take anything they had shown anywhere else first.
Right. It's not anywhere. It's nowhere. You can't see it anywhere.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Oh, right now it's out to buyers. We have a secured private link that only buyers can watch it. Oh my gosh. You can't put your movie anywhere. If your movie gets leaked, you're done for it. No one will take your movie, not just Netflix. Nobody will take your movie. I've had that issue where actors are always like, can I get my reel? I'm like, no, our movie goes nowhere until the distribution company deal. And then once the movie's out there, you'll crush your deal if it's like somehow leaked onto YouTube or someone put it up. So same with Netflix. Yeah. I mean, Netflix is the first. You go to Netflix first if that's what you want, but I don't know how Brad's doing it, but you can send the link to you want a bidding war. So you'd love it if Disney and Netflix both come back with and they're like, start bidding against each other. That would be amazing. So, but yes.
Who handles the establishing like the secure link for buyers and stuff? Is that a post thing, or do you have like a tech person, or?
Yeah, well, my editor Lex handles all that. Thank goodness for her. And then you can hire, there's a company called Indie TV. I can send you guys the link that's where Ryan Keller, our old sales agent, used to put everything on this secure link that watermarks it, and you can track who's watching it, and you can make sure. But and every movie is, once I made my first to my second to my third, they're all the exact same process. Once you've done it, it becomes I think the biggest thing is having people, making sure that if you have a team of producers, everybody is strong in a different area, so that you're not, if you're going to split the producer fee and then you all take a lane and you kind of stay in your lane. Mm-hmm. And that was really helpful for the four of us. Like Andrea did production design. So she also was a GCU liaison. I really leaned into casting, and I worked with Lisa while Ben was dealing with paperwork and Aaron was dealing with finding the craft service people. And you know what I mean? So we all just like kind of took our lane. I'm always like, I'll be the casting.
Can you remind me what the budget of that was?
I can't say the budget.
No, you can't. Not the amount. You can't say what you spent on it. Okay.
No, not yet. Not until it's out there. I can't say it, but it was the most we've ever had.
Okay. Is it basically the same as, it's the same process no matter the budget?
It's the same process no matter what.
You're the $10,000 budget that you talked about. You just have less people.
Less people, less money, less resources. Obviously the more money you have, the biggest thing that money has gotten us is getting great crew. Because when you don't have a lot of money and you're working with first timers, the stress on me to run departments, to teach people, it was just so lovely. When we did Switched, that was one of our best crew. We had an incredible first AD. He did his job. Like everyone just did their job. Even my director, John, was like, whoa, this is getting easier because we don't have to do everything.
Wow.
So money gives you good people, because people are expensive. And if anyone's worth their weight in gold, they're going to be expensive, and we've been really lucky. Lex, my editor, and I met in 2015, and, she's probably way beyond me now, but she still stays part of what we do. But we've also gotten bigger with her, so now we can hopefully raise her budget every time. So these people are getting paid what they deserve. And same with Woody. Woody gave us a deal in the beginning, but he's Allied Studios. As our budgets get bigger, we can pay him more.
Okay, so if I produce a film and we make it with private financing, it doesn't get distribution. So we need to stop talking about the budget at some point. It needs to be kept secret.
Well, here's the reason why. And I actually was just on a meeting with someone from NBC Universal today. And here's the reason. A lot of studios or anybody, you just don't want word to get out what your budget is because they don't know how much your movie's made for. So Switch, people thought it was a $2.5 million budget and it was 400. So you never want someone to know what it is because then they're like, we'll give you 400,000. So it's just a good practice of keeping that close to the chest. Once we've sold our movies and they've gone out there, I don't care anymore because it's a done deal. But when something is, I wouldn't want it to get out because then it hurts your ability to sell it for like when we took Catching Faith 1 out, the distribution company had no idea it was made for 75,000, and then we had a higher offer. And if they had known, then they would have been like, I'll give you 75,000. Right. So hopefully your movie is better than your budget because you were able to bring all the twinkle lights. And a lot of times your people are going to work for what the budget is too. Like your casting director is going to be like, because someone asked me that the other day, like how much for the casting director? I was like, well, it's based off the budget. So people will work based off your budget. You're going to say our budget is this, and they take what they understand. So like even with, Bob Scott, our cinematographer, like we were like, this is our budget. And he worked within that budget. Yeah.
Do we have to stick with a certain, do we have to stay in a certain lane, a certain genre? Do our movies have to, if we're going to do one psychological thriller, can we venture into something else? Or do you have to stay in a certain lane? Because I know you're staying kind of in that.
There's absolutely no rules in this world. I feel you do what you want to do, but I will say building an audience takes a long time. Okay. And building your audience, and now so many things are grassroots. It's hard to get the P&E from whoever it is. So you're going to be in charge of marketing your movie. And when I went from a horror movie and I did all those press releases and I was going to horror bloggers and I was going to horror events, and then I moved into faith-based and I had to start all over again. And I was like, okay, that's so much work. And I lost all that. I was literally going to Blumhouse events because I was trying to get in with the horror people because I thought I was going to have a horror career. And then God was like, no. So now here I am always going to Christian Worldview Film Festival and meeting Christians because I'm doing that. And I did a thriller that's on Tubi and I'm happy with that, but it doesn't get a lot of views because it's not after my audience. If I had done a little faith-based, I probably would have done better.
Yeah, he comes up with all these different ideas and he's a very diverse writer.
Yeah.
And it's great, but.
Well, if you're just writing the script and pitching to sell the script, then you can. If you're making the whole entire movie, which takes 1.5 years of your life to 2, maybe 3, you know what I mean? And then you're going to be in the marketing seat. And then we're always going to look for the people to position ourselves in with that is looking for the stuff we're doing. So you got to do what your heart loves and you got to love what you do. Because even if the movie never goes anywhere, if you loved what you did and I care about my audience so much. I love it. I'm always like, Lord, if you just bring one person to the Lord on set and the movie never goes anywhere, well, then that was my job,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Kelly, I see you had a couple other questions. It was, did you identify your distribution plan? That's a great question. Were you asking if we do that ahead of time?
Mm-hmm.
We, up until Identity Crisis, our sales agent was our EP. So he already knew where he was going with it. He had his connections. Yeah. Identity Crisis, Ben was like, this will be my role. I will take this out for distribution. So we knew that Ben would handle that side of it. But when we got to that place, I brought in a lot of my connections too. I mean, it's all a collaboration. Getting the pre-buy is so hard, to get someone to come on ahead of time. We talked about this. So it's really everyone's like, just show us the finished product and then we will consider if we're going to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
When you asked what step did you make your deck for investors? So we had made our own deck to pitch it to Third Coast Content. Andrea and I have 7 decks right now for all of our projects right now. We have so many decks. But once we did join with Third Coast, they went out and made a deck too, immediately to go bring it out to investors. If you have a deck that you can make, that's great. But Third Coast made a really good one too. And they put all the financial stuff in it that we talked about. And then at what step did you make, when did you pick the location? When did you hire your ID? When did you pick your shoot dates. Okay. Yeah. So, I think for all my films, locations have been flexible. Like, for Catching Faith, we found out we could have everything free in Wisconsin, so we moved to Wisconsin. My father has a church in Boston. I want to do a Christmas movie. I went home and said, can I shoot a movie here? He said, yes. Went and tapped into my hometown and did Wish for Christmas there. And then, we went up pre-production. We went and lined up all the locations, and then for Catching Faith 2, like I said, we thought we were shooting, switched, and we went to Louisville, Kentucky, because my sister had all these connections there. And then we tapped right back into the connections for switch. We had a free high school. Sometimes it's like, if you have that one big location that's free, that will be our thing. Okay, high school sold. We'll figure out the rest of the locations. Football fields with free extras, that would be a big one. And then Greatest Inheritance, that one, when we were going down to Columbus, Georgia and meeting with private investment, we met somebody who had this property, and a pastor went to the woman and said, your house is perfect for this movie. And she was like, heck no, I am not letting them shoot a movie here. I'm not stupid. And then she said she went to bed and God said, you're going to do this. And then she called us in, and she gave us her entire estate. If you guys see Greatest Inheritance, it's the most beautiful location. And so we got a free location. The whole movie took place there. So, and then we were like, well, we're shooting this in Columbus, Georgia. And that's great because they have a tax credit. But it really is about, and God. We've had one investor who said no, and he said he went to bed and God told him, invest in this movie. And we've had so many of those stories where it's like, we're like, okay, God, we just have to put it out there, tell people what you need and want. They might be like, absolutely no, right to your face. And then like 4 days later, they're like, God said I have to do this, so I'm going to do it. And then they end up having a great time. But Sandra Beck is like begging us to come back and shoot another movie. I'm like, you want another movie on your property? Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
So speaking of Georgia and tax credits, how difficult was that to get?
Oh, it's not difficult. You just apply for it.
Okay.
We applied for it. We got it. We worked with the Columbus, Georgia Film Office, which is a much better film office than Atlanta because they're smaller and they want movies. So they worked with us so great. Columbus Film Office called Atlanta to let them know we were shooting this movie and said, do not flip them. Don't flip them to Union. We want this movie here. So having the in at the local film office, really great. And it was not hard. Now, Louisville, Kentucky just started a tax credit, and we went to apply for that. And we had to have, we were like, oh, good thing we got in because there is only so much. So you want to make sure that you can get in and apply for it.
So many films are being shot out of state now, out of California. Do you think it's vital to live in LA now? Or do you think, would it be because the studios are here and like for meetings, or now so much is online? So where do you think you should base yourself?
I'm struggling with that because I do feel like LA is so expensive. Nashville, Atlanta are blowing up.
Yes, Nashville.
I moved to New Mexico in 2009, and that's what started my whole career. So, and then I brought it back to LA, and I've prayed many times. I've thought about going to Nashville, but my husband says no. So I'm in LA and God hasn't brought me out. But I went to Nashville and had more meetings in Nashville than I had in Los Angeles. And that's very, very frustrating. I feel like I think the pandemic hurt us, and I feel like studios, but you do still have the Hulus and the Warner Brothers and the Paramount, and you still can sit at a restaurant and someone next door could hear what you're talking about and be like, I'll buy your script,
True. That's true.
So Catching Faith 2 was made for, like I said before, the exact same amount of money that the distribution company was going to buy it for. So we can go through it if it's helpful for you guys, and if you don't, we don't. But I know last week you guys wanted to see the budget. So this was our budget from 2018, back when we changed the title. So yeah, I believe that the full budget grand total was $221,000. And that movie was a wedding football movie. Now I will say, we don't always have like a set medic. We have the information for where the hospital is. We would only bring in a set medic maybe on a day like in Switch, they were roller skating. And we were like, oh, we need a set medic in case they fall. But to be honest, like we haven't really always had, that's not a requirement. Well, first off, we're non-union, so nothing's a requirement, but you want to be safe. And it always makes me nervous that we don't have a set medic, but it's a very expensive position. They're really expensive. So sometimes we've had some volunteers from churches who are nurses. We had in Louisville, there was a nurse we knew, and she's like, I'll come to set whenever I can. And I was like, that'd be really awesome if you could just be there in case something happens.
So you don't do a honey wagon or anything. You just use whatever facilities you can find for cast and crew. Like,
Right. That's a great question. Honey wagons. Honey wagons require drivers. Drivers get into union stuff. So try not to have honey wagons, because then then the union can come in and say that's transpo. And then we did something really smart, which I want to do from now on when it comes to honey wagons. We didn't have any on Switched. We didn't have any on The Greatest Inheritance, and we didn't have any on Identity Crisis. So for Switched, for the two people that you would need it, which was John Schneider and Denise Richards, we happen to be shooting in a gorgeous mansion. And as long as we could provide them with a private room and bathroom, that was enough for them. And the house is beautiful. And they were as long as they had their own private room and bathroom, which is better. Then you have to take them out to a trailer and then run back and get them. We'd just be like, Denise would be next door in the room, and we'd be like, we're ready to shoot. The Greatest Inheritance, we shot all on that location, and we were able to give all the actors their own space with the house. And then Identity Crisis, we just gave them a room in the production. They each had their own room in the production office. And that's just something you can work out with. I mean, I'm sure if I work with some people, they might say no, but when you go in to make negotiations, that's what your casting director says. Private room and bathroom is really what they want more than anything. But yeah, so you guys can just see like where we put the money into things. We put $1,800 in locations. That's amazing to know that we got pretty much every location for free. And to be honest, I didn't ask John Schrod if this is the most up to date. A lot of your food money is going to go to food. I mean, $10,000 right there for food. You got to feed people. That is number one. Don't skimp on the food. Don't give people good food. It's like the least you can do, right? No transportation. We've had a lot of volunteers, drivers. We've gone, like my brother-in-law has been a driver. My father was Billingville's driver. I mean, we just go to the community and we get volunteers. I drove all the girls on Switch back and forth. Yep. Actually Switched, I think we hired somebody, but we didn't have the money in this movie. So we had to call in some church favors. Editorial, music, post-production sound, post-production film lab. There is money in there, so I'm not sure why it's not in here. I don't know what John Schrod was doing. And everything changes and fluctuates when you're filming. The line producer's gonna be like, I gotta pull money from here and I gotta put it in here. We're gonna have to figure out how to save. Publicity.
That's where I was thinking, like, all these zeros under like legal and accounting and insurance and all that. So it just might not be the final.
It just might not be in here. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, legal insurance. We definitely had insurance. We didn't have a legal or accountant. We did all this stuff ourselves.
Well, they might have put it down here with insurance.
That's
and
true. Yeah.
That
And
may
then
be
you see
where.
we had a contingency of $20,000. We put $20,000 away in case there was an emergency.
Yeah.
There's 1.5% insurance right here.
Yeah.
Production bond, because SAG's going to take money from the bond. So you got to put that in there to pay the stinking SAG bond ahead of time, and you lose money out of your budget. And I don't like it.
What does that mean, bond? I haven't done
Bond.
Since you were non-union, why were you having to deal with SAG?
All my movies are SAG.
Yeah, that's what she said.
I'm non-union crew. I'm SAG actors.
Oh, okay, yeah,
So I work with Screen Actors Guild on every single one of my movies.
okay.
And yeah. And I couldn't get Denise Richards or Mina Suvari.
Yeah,
And so bond is like you give them your budget and how many actors you have to provide your budget to SAG. They want to see, and then they come back with a number of what you have to give them right away. And it goes into a bond and it sits there until your movie is done. and finished and the actors have been paid, and then the bond comes back to you. It's a protection for the actors if you don't pay them. But you know, sometimes I've heard horror stories of people not getting their bond back. We've always gotten our bond back, thank goodness.
Well, is it always 2.5% or is that based on the budget? Is the bond percentage
Bond
based?
well, it's up to SAG. I can't even tell you. I mean, you're going to submit everything SAG required. We have actually argued with SAG. I think Switch, they came back with a really high number and we went back to them and said, you guys, come on. And I think we were able to negotiate with SAG to bring that bond down because it was like, or they read the thing wrong. They were like, oh, I thought it was this. And I don't know. So you can, but really.
No rhyme or reason. No rhyme or reason.
They can do anything they want. They're the Screen Actors Guild. So if they tell you, you need to pay us $100,000 right now, you'd have to do it, or you can't use the actors.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So anyway, my sister and I each got $2,000 to write that script. Woo-hoo! All the way to the bank.
Whoa.
But you know what? We love what we do. I love it. I love it. And then this shows what we made. I made 5,000. John was the director and producer, so he just split the money between directing and producing. My sister got 2,000 to produce the movie. You guys are going to see what we work for. We really love what we do. And then our line producer got that much. I mean, we will pay people more than ourselves because we know that we can't get people to work for how cheap we work, but we don't want to do it anymore. I can't. I have a nervous breakdown. So there's the producer's salaries, the director, and then principal cast. I'm gonna let you guys see. This is under the SAG new media contract. So that's what people got for their day rate. It seems so crazy, $125. But then this was in 2018, but this was under the SAG contract. And then that's how much these, and then I don't know where Billingville's number, because Billingville is who got all the money. And then these were just characters like day players, which we just.
He was probably in the above the line cast number.
I'm sorry, we wouldn't have put Bill in the budget because Bill would have been paid in P&E. He wasn't paid, so we wouldn't have.
Oh, that's right. What did you say? That's right. You talked about P&E.
Yeah, where's Bill? Maybe Bill is in here. Yep, Coach Z. Coach Z got $125 a day through SAG, and the rest of his money we paid him in a P&E fund for his, and it's called press and advertising, and that we paid him his press and advertising ahead of time. So it's actually, yeah, and then we are paying him SAG scale. But to entice him to be in our movie, we gave him press and advertising money ahead of time. That's how you do it. Because if that $20K had gone into the budget, SAG would have taken a higher bond and all the other stuff. And the actor just wants to be paid. So they don't, I've done every movie and they're fine with this. Because you can pay them any way you want. You can say, I'm paying you for whatever, you know?
And where do you put that? Do you put that above the line under?
We don't put it in the budget. I mean, we have it in the budget. What do you mean?
The press and advertising for him, is that a above the line item? Or is it
actors are above the line. Actors are above the line.
That's
Cast is above the line. Any cast goes above the line.
P&E is
Just-
actually a post.
There it is.
Budget.
Cast, what?
P&E.
Yeah.
Is, in my experience back in the day, was part of the post. It was
Post,
of
okay.
distribution. It was when you go out and you are
press. You're doing the
speaking here
press.
and there.
So we're paying him ahead of time, saying you'll do press for the movie, and we're paying you before.
So when he does it later, he's not going to get paid because he's already been paid.
I see. So it'll be down in your post probably number, I would guess.
No, I don't think you're going to see it in this budget,
Won't
Kelly.
see
But I'm
it.
telling you, it's not going to be in this budget. We kept it off
sorry.
the budget, but no, I know. I'm just saying, we know I'm sure we'll see it. If John put it in here, he probably did not put it in here because it's probably, you know what I mean? I don't think it's going to be in here, but as a line producer, he knows that money has to go aside for him. And now granted, right away, we had to put that money towards Billingville. I think we paid Billingville play. So Brian Keller, like we actually had to go get an investor just to pay Billingville's salary because they wouldn't make the movie without, they wouldn't buy the movie without Bill. So we found somebody who was like, I will pay Bill's salary. And that immediately we put that to Bill's agent and we did a pay or play because without him, there was no movie. So we probably paid him immediately before we even did anything in pre-pro to secure, we couldn't make the movie without Billingville. So if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The purpose behind that is because it's just the bond that SAG would charge for the higher rate of the cast fee, right? Or is there something else you do?
And your insurance, there's like an
Okay.
insurance fee too, and it all comes off of like how much
The budget.
but yeah, are you in new media? Are you in low budget? Are you in medium budget? It all goes by your budget, everything. When you apply for SAG, you're applying under a budget level, and then everything they do is off of that. So if your movie's 400,000, you're going to be in that level. If your movie goes to 750, you're in a higher level.
Well, and it's 18% of their salary. You also have to pay to SAG. So it raises their salary basically by 18%.
Yeah.
And
then you also,
yeah,
and you also have to allot for overtime because you're going to work more than, 10 hours a day. So you want to make sure, I'm sure John Schrott allotted for the fact that actors are going to work 12 hours. That goes into overtime and you have to pay them overtime. And why contingency and having a good line producer is so important.
so you guys usually plan for a 12-hour day?
Yeah, we always shoot a 12-hour day.
And you guys say you started at 6 days, but now you're doing 5.
Yeah, we used to do 6 days and then we were like, if we don't have to, but I don't know. I mean, yeah, we do 5-day weeks now and give everybody 2 days off. But in the beginning, we couldn't afford it. So we just did 6 days, 1 day off, 6 days, get in, get out. And then first class travel, we know who that was for. And then our other actors that we flew in, hotel. Actually, you want to know a little fun secret about this movie? My husband paid for all the hotels for the actors as a gift to me because we couldn't afford, so we didn't know we couldn't find housing for them that all the actors would be happy. And we were really stressed out because we didn't have the money for not Bill, but all the other people. And my husband was like, I'll just pay as a gift. And that was amazing. So sometimes husbands can come in handy because I was like, because we'll put a lot of people in houses in the community, but we just didn't have anything that was good enough for the actors. So we did get them a hotel room for the movie, but you won't see that in here because my husband paid it.
So that's pretty good. You only needed Bill for 3 nights in a hotel.
Yeah, he only shot 2 days.
Yeah,
2 days.
that's good.
In and out. That's all we could afford.
That's good line producing.
We just shot, we did Bill and also script wise, my sister and I went in and just made sure he was only at the football field and he never goes anywhere else.
Okay.
If actually, you'll see he's in the wedding scene and we actually went behind the football field, strung some lights up, put him in a suit and brought in the other actor and have them in the back talking. And we had the wedding planner. We said, get in there and with a clipboard and walk by them. And we cut that into the wedding scene. He was not even at the wedding scene.
That is awesome.
Yeah. And we like strung lights up. We have this whole scene and we even have an edit where like Garrett looks this way and someone waves to him and that's all at the wedding scene. And we were like, dang, that looks like so that's how, because we couldn't afford to have Bill for the wedding scene, but we wanted him in it. So there's ways to cheat things,
Awesome.
Thinking
Kelly,
outside the box all the time. The time. We change things all the time. Yes, Tony. Wait.
I was just gonna say, Kelly, that's called shooting out an actor. And so
Yeah.
you just
Shoot them out.
schedule their scenes.
Yeah.
You shoot out
Yeah.
within 2 or 3 days. You shoot everything
Yeah.
just around them and get them out.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's why if you can write a character that could shoot in 3 days and get a star name, and it
Right.
all depends on locations. If you have 6 locations, then you need the actor. Because Bill did our first movie and he was there for 6 days because we had him a different football field every day. And that was amazing. But we're like, oh, from now on, let's be a little smarter about like Denise Richards, she's only in 2 locations in the whole movie. And so we were able to shoot her out in a couple days.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
Back up to the what are those little percentages I'm looking at? All-
Well, so see, that's
oh,
the
that's SAG
percent-
P&H. FICA, Huda. See, this is where I need a line producer.
Yeah, so it's workers' comp.
Yeah, workers' comp
It's
process.
payroll processing. It's SAG. That's the percentage, which I
Pension
think
and
now
health.
it's like 18%. Then it's Social Security, Medicare,
Yeah.
FUTA, DUI are like
Yes.
unemployment insurance things.
Oh, yeah.
So that's, so if you're shooting like real officially paying everybody, not doing super under the table, low budget, you got to add all that into your
Yeah,
budget.
we gave people per diem on this movie. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so when you're not using IATSE, you're still doing payroll for your movies where you're doing.
Oh, yeah, we hire a payroll.
You still have payroll, okay.
We still pay everyone through a payroll, and you do have to deal with like, you do have to,
Taxes, yeah.
yeah, taxes and all, and that's why having an accountant is really good, or a line producer that has an accountant. My line producer for Wish for Christmas was outstanding. She had an accountant. They did everything, buttoned it up beautifully. She's my favorite I've ever worked with, and I keep trying to get her back, and I can't get her back because she's so successful now. She was amazing though. Good line producer will save your entire movie. First assistant director. And you know, it's really funny. People got paid more than me. It's fine. But script supervisor, $150 a day. It looks like he didn't budget a second. Oh, we did not have a second assistant director. Yeah, we didn't. There's a lot of jobs we just didn't have. We, you know, like they say, skeleton crew. Did he get a PA? He did get it. He had 2 PAs and a first and second AD. We did not have a locations manager. That was Andrea's salary for production designer. We had an art director. It looks like she had additional man days. She had 10 days where she could bring someone in who made 125. Sometimes we've done things where if people really want to work on it and they're eager, we can split the salary between 2 people and be like, you want to split 125 and you both can do it. We've actually done that before, and people who want to work or be a part of it and want to learn, can happen. Fringes. And then, yeah, I mean, budgets are just so long, you know what I mean? But we had some prop rentals, prop purchases. We spent $300 on prop purchases. And then we had a set decorator. We had $200 in somewhere here in this thing, and it was all volunteered. We gotta have to watch Catching Faith 2 after you see us and see what we pulled off, because it's literally, yeah, Emily.
What's the difference between above the line and below the line?
What's the difference in, like, what does it mean?
Yeah, what goes into each one?
Above the line is like producers, directors, cast, and maybe is the first. No, I don't think the first. No, that's it. That's like the top people are above the line.
And then
Anybody else want to? What is the big deal about above and below the line? Does anyone know the answer? I don't even know.
Well, I think, isn't it like anything below the line, it's gonna get a standard hourly rate, whereas,
Oh, right. Yeah, that's probably.
and then above the line could be, you could be paying someone $2,000 or $2 million to do the same week of shooting. So everyone is like, crew is always going to be the same rate, right? Even on the,
That's how I've always understood it.
like a really high budget movie, maybe the crew gets, they get a lot more per hour, right? Especially if they're in IATSE, right?
Yeah. If you're IATSE, yeah. But I mean, of course, like if you're getting like a really good cinematographer, he's going to be a lot more than maybe your production designer. If that production designer does not have the credits that, you know what I mean? Like, you're gonna pay maybe more if you've got a seasoned cinematographer. Because Andrea was production designer on Identity Crisis, and she didn't even get close to what Bob Scott got as a cinematographer because we wanted Bob Scott. So it's not gonna be equal or fair, but it's your budget and you can make it up however you want, really. I mean, we make our own movies, so this is all, we got to put it in there because you have to give people a day, right? Like when I'm hiring people, I'm looking at this going, oh, okay, well, we have, a set decorator 16 days, and I'm calling and interviewing people and saying it's a $200 a day flat rate. And that's no overtime usually. I mean, but usually it's a 12-hour day and that's it. That's a flat fee.
And
But
you're
right,
not
like,
you're not 1099ing any of these people?
yeah, we did 1099 people. We did do taxes. Yeah. You have to deal with taxes. Yeah. Oof. Yes. You have to 1099 or however you do your.
Well, it's
Okay,
W2.
yes.
1099 is if my husband is a consultant, and
Independent
so
contractor.
so he gets 1099, so we get to deal with the taxes.
Yeah, that's a really good question because I know we've gone back and forth on our films versus W-9 versus independent contractor for 1099. So I'd have to check in with some of my line.
It's fine. I was just curious. It's like me, this numbers are Greek to me. This is not my
Yeah,
stuff.
me too. That's why I'm like, tell me what the day rate is when I interview the crew member or the actor. And I'm like, you're going to get a SAG scale of this amount. As you see, our costume designer, she only got $200 a day. And then, I found someone locally who wasn't the best, like it's just, you're paying for what you get. And then thank goodness the lead actress is amazing. And she helped with all the wardrobe and she like did everything. Lorena, who's the lead, she's amazing. She was like helping dress everybody. So we all pitch in. It's a team effort. And that's why I love my cast and crew from all these movies. Cause everyone's like, what do you need? I'll help out, cause
And do you usually at least pay minimum wage for the crew? Do you feel like you have to do that to not have?
you have to pay minimum wage in the state. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although, we have a lot of volunteers and you can also take volunteers. There is nothing against the law that says if somebody says, I want to come and volunteer today, they have the right to come and volunteer. So we have had a lot of volunteers. Extras are volunteers, We just pay everybody.
Just want to be on screen.
Exactly. Yeah. Or a crew member who just wants a credit that we would give them the credit even if they weren't paid, but they were volunteering. But yeah, but when it comes to like putting people on a payroll and paying them their hourly, yes, then you're. So wardrobe purchases, not very much. We had to pay to clean some stuff, it's not much. You guys see, like we make it spread out. We really spread out I'm sure the camera department is very small in this movie. Like you'll see, we don't have a lot of G&E. Rick Galley is amazing. Thank goodness. But yeah, that's where you put your money is into the key grip and the best boy and the camera operator. And then of course, you see he puts fringes for all of them because you have to pay all that stuff on top of their salary. The gaffer, best boy electrician. We had no picture vehicles. We borrowed all cars from friends. My car is like in 6 of my movies. Department head for hair and makeup. And then she only had 6 days of additionals. And I know that was really hard for her on Catching Faith too, because we had so many women and she was like, I'm dying. And I was like, I'll go curl some hair. I'll be out there curling hair. So she only got 6 out of 16 days. She only had 6 days to have an assistant. We picked the wedding days because we had like 50 girls. So,
I have a question about the fringes for the like key grips and stuff.
Yeah.
Is that because you're not paying them through the union?
No, I think it's exactly what Kelly said. The fringes is because we are paying them, they're processing their tax stuff. Like we have to put the fringes in for the salaries. You'll see fringes are at every end of every salary.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Every time he puts a line in, then you'll see there's fringes.
Okay.
And this is why we need a line producer. And then there we go. There's makeup. So we had makeup. We had a sound mixer. We didn't have enough money for 2. We had one guy who sound mixed and held the boom, and he got $200 a day. And I can't believe that. I'm like, man, that's nothing. And then production office 000. Crew airfare, we clearly bought some crew airfare, brought in some of our people, and at this point we were at our 5th feature, so a lot of them, we didn't want them to be paying out of their own pocket. They'd already done enough. Looks like production supplies, set purchases, we had a couple hard drives, put that in the budget. You need hard drives for posts. You need hard drives. And there's our lunches, how much we paid for lunches, second meals. We put money in to have a second meal if we went over and had to feed everybody again. Even though we are not crew union, we always go by union rules. So we always try, we do not like say, oh, we put you guys worked over, you don't get a second meal. We always go out and get a pizza. We do whatever the union wants, because we try to always stick by the union rules, even though they're not paid union. Like in Georgia, Chick-fil-A, I reached out and they gave me a whole meal for a day, one day for my crew. And they were so excited that they got like a free Chick-fil-A meal, and Chick-fil-A donated it. So there's a lot of ways to get a second meal from a local place that might say, I'll give you 20 sandwiches tonight. But always feed the people. And then, so fringes, catering, a lot of our money, I know, always goes into food. And this movie, a lot of the actors brought their own films. Total below the line production. All right, so now we have post. So you see what my post, what Lex made as an editor, which is amazing. And then sound effects editor. And that's probably why I couldn't get Woody Woodhull. Our composer, who is amazing. He's been with me for 20 years, and poor guy, look at that. He did that beautiful movie for $4,000. And then that's it. And then, well, we must have some more people in post, but as you see, it's all 0. No money. Nope, nothing. And then publicity fee. Oh, so we knew we were going to get our poster company. So we put that in the budget ahead of time. When as you see, they got, we put $2,000 in the budget right away for that, so that we had it.
Is that, there's Bill's.
There it is.
Thing.
There it is. Is it here?
Yeah. 21. You paid him
There you
21,000.
go. That's it. There's Bill's salary. It went in there. He put it in supplies, cast peony. I don't know what he was doing, but it did land in the budget.
Yeah, cast peony.
Where Bill Ingville's money is. And anything else? Let's see. See how this is why you've never put a budget in Jenna in a pitch deck. They're so long.
Oh,
and
totally.
That's it. So that's it. So that's
I have a question about the peony, whatever you paid Bill. When SAG, like when he got his deal, because I think there's like a SAG contract he had to sign. I mean, was it in there? Would they have seen that? Like, is it?
No, so we hire him at SAG scale through SAG, and he signs on to that. And then we do
it's a separate
deal where we pay him for his P&E. So he has to sign his SAG sheets. He's getting his payment through the, SAG, but we pay him on the side. And that's what we do with all the big stars.
Okay.
But they agree to say, okay, I'll take my P&E fee ahead of time. And then they get their SAG scale money.
During the casting process, do you ever look for Christian actors?
That's a great question. I love that. For Andrea and I, that is absolutely not a requirement. We do not look for Christian actors, and we don't look for Christian crew. We look for the best people for the job. We really want quality movies. And I feel like we've had so many people come to know the Lord on our set. that if somebody says to me, I want to sign up for a faith-based movie, they're in. And if they're open to that, now, if they're slandering us and making fun of us, which we've had that's a problem. I don't like that. I don't want disrespect if you don't believe in it. We've had that happen. But I think one thing we do, especially on Identity Crisis, is we did look through people's Instagram to see what the girls were doing. It's like Karen always says, never put anything bad on social media. And I agree, because if we see things that girls are doing that we wouldn't want our girls to emulate, we might pick a different girl. We might, you know what I mean? If someone's like doing inappropriate stuff, you can't know the actor could change the next year anyway, but we do not. Being a Christian, I know the Kendrick brothers, you have to be a Christian to work on their film sets. I feel like then you're like missing out on the opportunity of being a witness. And that's the whole point of what we're doing. I was like, and we also do we'll have like a prayer room in the morning, and anyone who's welcome can go, but no one's required to go. We do not do required prayer. We tried it on one movie, and I didn't personally like required prayer, because there are people who are like, I have to stand in a circle and hold hands. But then on Switched, it started with 4 people. And by the end of the show, probably 90% of people were showing up to go to pray before the day. So that's amazing. Yeah. So anyone is welcome. I'm looking for the best person for the job, and also the kindest person to work with. Happy week, everybody. Go
You
crush
too.
it.
God bless everybody.
Bye.